To begin this slideshow, I decided to look at learning strategies and give a specific example in the science classroom. These learning strategies can be utilized in history or English or art in any discipline. And I'm going to give a specific science example because I don't think we've looked at them enough. So to begin, why learning strategies are important. Students need to learn how to learn to succeed in K through 12 and through higher education. It's not enough to simply learn information. Students need to learn how they learn individually. So these learning strategies that they develop or practice will be beneficial to them throughout their entire education and in life. Students learn best through a more heuristic approach. By this I mean students learn by hands-on trial and error and being able to fail and having more independence in the way that they grapple with the content. Teachers are meant to facilitate learning and not just deposit information. I see teachers' role as facilitators of learning and not someone who is meant to simply deposit information into students' minds. As we give students more independence in their own learning, they will be able to develop learning strategies that will benefit them throughout their whole life. Emergent bilingual students can learn to overcome burdensome vocabulary with learning strategies provided by their teacher. Emergent bilingual students can benefit especially from these learning strategies as they struggle to learn new vocabulary and the content of what they're studying. Teachers can explicitly teach these learning strategies or guide them to creating their own. Students that struggle to develop effective learning strategies may benefit from explicit instruction. So like I just said, teachers can explicitly explain learning strategies step by step to students, especially emergent bilingual students, to give them the tools necessary to learn content on their own. And utilizing the repetitive steps of a learning strategy will allow it to become second nature. So all of us in higher education, we take for granted the learning strategies that we've developed over our academic careers. We study in particular ways, and it's become second nature to us, and we don't even have to think about the way that we study. But students that are new to this idea, they may have to be explained the learning strategies and the steps required to do so. So here's the cognate strategy, just a science example. Homonyms, words that are spelled and pronounced the same but have different meanings, are a common stumbling block for students in science. Like false cognates, they can impede understanding of basic principles. So we all know common homonyms in English, and they are pretty frustrating, even for those of us that are native English speakers, especially for emergent bilingual students. Some examples in science are cell, endothermic, period, precipitation, elastic, phase, degree, etc. Period in particular has like 4 different definitions, but it's spelled and pronounced the same way, and I can imagine that would be frustrating for someone new to English learning science. So In applying the I do, we do, y'all do, you do strategy with the cognate strategy, we begin by explaining the learning strategy. You explain and describe the strategy, and you demonstrate and model the strategy explicitly for all of the students. You provide a completed example. See graphic organizer on the next slide. This helps direct student learning and maintain focus. Allowing for multiple opportunities for practice is important. The we do together, y'all do in pairs or small groups, and you do independently. This repetitive nature in the strategy will ensure that students have the best opportunity to understand how to complete it on their own, and in doing so it becomes second nature. So I've created this concept map, this graphic organizer for homonyms or false cognates. It works for either one. So you have the word in the middle, and you have a definition on either side with an accompanying picture and its usage in a sentence. So here's one that's filled out for precipitation, for example. So we have the action or process of precipitating a substance from a solution. And we see precipitate in a solution, as in chemistry, and silver chloride was the result of the precipitation reaction. Opposed to that, we have rain, snow, sleet, or hail that falls to the ground, and a picture of that occurring. And the precipitation in the form of snow made it difficult to drive home. As we can see, we can compare and contrast the different definitions of precipitation, and by doing so, students will have the opportunity to repeat this learning strategy over and over as they come across new words that are homonyms or false cognates. Specific steps for this example. So I'm going to go through the I do, we do, y'all do, and you do steps. In the I do section, you identify a homonym to explain and fill out the graphic organizer with a projector or on the board. This should be the exemplar. That is the teacher-centric part of the classroom instruction. The we do part is working through another word to word together and filling out the graphic organizer as a class. This allows for questioning and checking for class-wide understanding. So the entire class ideally is participating at least somewhat in this discussion. The y'all do section is having students either in pairs or small groups work together on the other words pertaining to the lesson. This can be done at the beginning of new units to avoid confusing vocabulary later on. I imagine having students pair up in specific ways, either by emergent bilingual level, English level proficiency, or you can pair them up in different ways, like having a higher level paired up with a lower level to help out. And in the you do section, this is where students have the opportunity to work individually and independently on completing the concept map for new vocabulary. This is where students have the opportunity to practice on their own and develop the confidence to do so when a new situation with a homonym or false cognate arises.